Hey yo, what's good? What's going on, everyone? Everywhere, welcome back to another video, man. Make sure you like and subscribe, share the video, and all the other good stuff. And before we even get into this bad boy, man, you kind of already see by the background gameplay here, man. I am going to be doing a little bit of a Legion event at the moment. Just show you what this build can do, man. This build is absolutely insane, and what it can do. I know you see the millions that it's able to do. It is absolutely insane. It's quite bonkers, if you will. Single target damage, AoE damage, everything under the sun damage, just damage in general. It does it all, okay? Now, if you don't know what build I'm talking about, I already made a video about it. I leveled up with this build. I'm still on the internal server. I do have a seasonal character, but I'm not using them at the moment, okay? But by any means, man, let's go ahead and hop into it. You can kind of see what I got going on. Now, I will say this particular aspect right here is not needed whatsoever at all. You can definitely switch this out if you are having survivability problems with the aspect that increase your armor as you get hits. So that's a good one to throw in there if you are needing it there. But yeah, by the rest of this though, I will give you some suggestions in terms of affixes for your gear, which ones are required and which ones are suggested for each piece of gear. With that being said, like life on kill required for helmet, lucky hit chance while you have barrier is also another one. Crowd control, duration, and armor are good ones. Cooldown reduction, max life, stuff like that's also good ones, okay? Now the chest damage reduction is good. Other ones are just like straight up damage as well. Ranks earth and bulwark is also good, okay, for the chest. Now for my chest, I personally have the aspect where if you're fortified, your earth skills gain 2 ranks. Then for the hands, lucky hit chance, ranks to landslide, and then I would say crit chance. Critical damage with earth skills. So those would be 2 that will switch out: critical strike chance and damage to injured enemies. Now I don't necessarily want damage to injured enemies, just because injured enemies are considered injured when you're 35% and below, which at that point you'll see by this build you pretty much one-shot majority of stuff, or if you don't one-shot them, you're not really in that 35% range. It's like half, so you're not really going to get to that range percent to really take advantage of it. And then as you see, I have the poison creeper new aspect. Also activates landslide in a circle around the radius, or radius of the poison creeper effect. And then earth skills deal, X amount of increased damage to poison enemies. Now with the pants, I have this one right here for the aspect, that is the duration of earth and bulk is increased by 6 seconds, and killing enemies with earth skills replenish X amount of your active earth and bulwark's barrier. Now this is real good and kind of can pair with nicely the 1 point skill point in the earth and bulwark tree, where we can do damage and it scales off our barrier and everything. That is definitely good, but I will have to say you can definitely switch this out if you all want to be more damage focused with this other aspect. Y'all probably know it by now, where earth and bulwark will get, I believe it's all the way up to 25% increased barrier for each enemy you crowd control. Okay, now in terms of what you want for the intrinsic affix is this one right here: while injured, your potion grants 30% of your max life as barrier. You definitely want that. That's the best one out of anyone for pants. It should always be a mandatory guarantee for you to even take it on in the first place. Now in terms of affixes for pants or your legs, will be damage reduction, total armor, stuff of that nature. You could get the extra ranks to trample. They're not needed. You're not really focusing on hitting things with the trample itself. You're really fixated on passing by things with trample, okay? In terms of your boots, I have the main thing that always, excuse the dog in the background, the main thing that always ties this build all together, that symbiotic aspect right there, where Nature Fury skill, free skill triggers, then your non-ultimate cooldowns of the opposite types are reduced by 5 seconds. Now, what does that mean? Since pretty much all of our other skills are earth skills, right? Let's just go out here for a second. Apologies, y'all. Pretty much all it means is that when we hit our storm skills, since we have earth skills, on our other one, when we do hit our storm skill, we're able to then get the cooldown reduced of our earth skills when using that storm skill. I know that kind of sounds a little confusing, but I want to show you out here. Let's see if it's 12 second cooldown, right? Now look, I just hit it one time and I'm already, bam, Earth and Bork is right back up. But we had 12 seconds and that wasn't on 12 seconds, no cuts, no edits, no nothing. You already know I do that raw and uncut. So there you go. That's a little demonstration of what you're able to do with this symbiotic aspect right here. Now in terms of what you want for your boot affixes, I personally like the max evade charges. That's what allows me to have 4 when I max it out there. I know other people do like the movement speed after you charge, or attacks reduce the evade charge and all that. That's okay, that's fine, that's cool, but hey, not extra for me. I like the max evade charges for the Intrinsic one. That's a must have for me. Now I will say on the boots, in terms of affixes, damage reduction while injured, it can be a good one. Fortified generation can also be a pretty decent one. The stats and all of that, especially any stats you need for your Paragon board, is definitely going to be a good ones here. Spirit cost reductions also good. Okay, now keep in mind this build has no types of uniques whatsoever at all. It's one of the highlights of this build. Will help me really level up in the game. Even to this day, I tried the Tornado Werewolf Druid with Tempest Roar and all that. It was cool. This build is better now that I'm retesting this build and re-going over it. It is better exactly the way I have it now. And mind you, I really need to get better gear for it. Better gear in terms of affixes and stuff. So yeah. And potentially one aspect, and I have the aspect, but I like this one better for survivability. The other one is more for damage, so keep that in mind. And then yeah, so legendary axe is what I have for here, and we have our totem. But in terms of what we want for our affixes, pretty much anything that we can maximize damage, critical strike damage. Something that we definitely want to focus on and harp on very much so. Once again, damage to injured enemies is kind of bad because they have to be 35% or below to get that extra 40% damage increase. That is kind of bad. Damage to slow enemies can be good since we do have the aspect right here, and there's other ways that we do get slowed with this particular build. Okay, so that is a good one. Damage to close range enemy, damage to distant enemies can also be good. What's some other ones? Vulnerable damage, you know, stuff like that is always a good thing. Damage to controlled enemies of control effects that have control effects on them, that's good. There's multiple different things that you can swap out. That damage to injured enemy is one, so I would definitely swap it out. In terms of aspect, as you see, we have that natural balance, which is essentially playing off what we're already doing. When we use a storm skill, our earth skill has, you know, X amount of multiplicative increase critical strike damage for 4 seconds, and after we use the earth skill, then our storm skill has increased 11, well, you know, X amount of critical strike chance for our storm skill. Okay, so it's just good. We're pretty much always creating, and then when we do create, like I said before, we hitting big, pretty hard. Now this one, I will say you could probably change this particular aspect out. I have it just because it's easier to gauge with the barrier when I'm getting the damage ones when I'm not. But if you really want to maximize, you can definitely swap over to the other aspect that when you are fortified, you can deal up to, I believe it's like 30 or 40% damage increase. That's multiplicative, that is. This one is multiplicative as well, but as you see, it only caps out at 25. So the other one is higher, but it is based on how much fortified you do have. And it will be fortified relevance to your health. So make sure your health is always up. Your fortify is always up, then you're very good. This one's just barrier, so as long as you pop Earth Bulwark, you're good to go. If you want to continue having the barrier Earth Bulwark and know all that, then this aspect works brilliantly with it to just have this damage bonus increase at all times, essentially. Now for the affixes that you will want with the totem, cooldown reduction, critical strike chance, life on kill, spirit cost reduction. This is a perfect one, essentially. Okay. Now in terms of our rings, you pretty much want to get as much damage as possible in different ways. Vulnerable damage, critical strike damage, damage to critical enemies, damage to poison enemies. You'll see poison with the poison creeper right here. And yeah, even physical damage, because landslide does count as a physical damage ability as well. So just stuff like that, as well as lucky hit chance. And I'll show you why we need lucky hit chance here very shortly. Yeah, in terms of aspect, I do have the crushed stone circle, as it says up top, which essentially this earth skills deal, you know, that 40% multiplicative increase for strike damage to control enemies, since we will be having vulnerable and poison for our main ones, but also slow, immobilize, and stun as well. Then we have 5 different ways to control enemies, so we're almost always going to have this on and up. 40% is a pretty good, decent number. But yeah, and then for our other ring, we have all the damage perks and whatnot. But for the aspect, we have landslide, pretty much hits twice, okay, and deals an additional X amount for this one at 12% bonus damage per hit, which is really just going to allow our damage to keep ramping up, getting higher and higher, especially because the poison creeper landslide one here allows our earth skills, i.e. landslide, to deal X amount increased damage to poison enemies. Damage increase, bonus. You kind of see where I'm going here. Now for our neck, or amulet, if you will, in terms of affixes, I like to go ahead and make sure I always have plus, whatever ranks of Envenom passive, cooldown reduction, spirit cost reduction, critical strike chance, ranks to race skills, defensive skills, total armor. All those are good things to have. Even the straight up damage while human form, damage while shapeshifted, damage, outright even ones are also good as well. There's plenty of things to go with the amulet. It's hard to go wrong, but if you're trying to min max, definitely go ahead and get your plus 3 ranks of Envenom passive first and foremost. Cooldown reduction probably being the next biggest thing to get. After that, it's really up to you. I had to keep critical strike chance just because I want my critical strike chance to be as high as possible. Okay, I need to move around before it kicks me. See, I should actually hit him. But as you kind of see, it hits twice each time. And I even got lightning and all that, so it's all good. Just free stuff across the board. And why we actually want this particular aspect here, when Trample is now summons 6 landslide pillars, you kind of saw it right there using Trample. It is 6 horizontally. It goes however many vertically, so whenever you're going forward, this way, that way, whatever, however long you go in terms of the duration of it is however much rows of these 6 landslides you get. Okay, I just want to make that clear. I know it does get confusing for some people. They think, oh, I only get 6. Why is there seeing more? Is that messed up? No, it's not. It's 6 across the row, and depending on how many rows you get, it's depending on how far you go. Okay, but we definitely want to get this one here, because if we don't, it is capped to, I believe, 80% if we have it on like a ring or a weapon or something, or even our gloves. So the fact that we're getting 120% damage of our landslide, and we have so many landslides that all hit twice, mind you, it's absolutely ridiculous, especially when we do the poison creeper first and we have everything going on and the barrier active and everything just synergizing with one another. So many landslides hitting all at once to increase damage, and these hit even harder than the regular landslide at that. It's just nice all around. Now in terms of our spirit boon, okay, we got the, of course, the one where you get 10% damage reduction from elites. 2 in the second row here, get your critical strike damage, multiplicative that is, and additive critical strike chance. Now, pack leader, it gets that lucky hit. That's why you want lucky hit on gloves, rings, stuff like that. Even the head and the totem could be very good as well if you get the lucky hit chance while barrier is active. It's also going to be a good one there for you, okay? And lucky hit, critical strikes have up to a 20% chance. Once again, this is why we want to have critical strikes as well as lucky hit. To reset cooldowns of your companion skills. Companion skills will be that poison creeper, which has the landslide all around. Now keep in mind, when you are using poison creeper, wherever you are at in the center of it, as well as enemies, you kind of want to make sure enemies are more around the edge of the poison creeper effect radius, not in the middle where exactly where you were standing. It always hits a 360 around where you are standing at the particular moment that you activate it. So keep that in mind. You want enemies to be slightly away from you, not directly on top of you, just because there is actually no damage where you are at specifically, but all the damage in the world outside of that. Okay, so keep that in mind when you are using that. And then we want Calm Before the Storm, just so we can get a cooldown reduction of our ultimate skill, which is going to be our Petrify there as well. Once again, it's lucky hit, so hey, good. And nature magic skills is pretty much everything we have across the board, so we're good there. Now in terms of our abilities, you can already see we're working with Storm Strike. Then you want to get enhanced Storm Strike to immobilize him, one of our control effects, so we're good there. Get 1 Heart of the Wild, just to get a little bit of spirit increase, but then you want to get abundance, so you don't have to keep spamming Storm Strike whenever you do run out of spirit or not really getting lucky on your other procs and hits, to allow you to be able to keep going. And then you want to max out this wild impulse to put all 3 into it. It's very, very good, and it's multiplicative damage. Now you definitely want to go ahead and come over here and get landslide, all 5, and then plus any ranks you get from like your gloves, for example. Now keep in mind, if you look here for both Storm Strike and landslide, and you'll even see down here with Earthen Bulwark, each one has a percentage of lucky hit chance. Landslide is 23%, Storm Strike is 29%, Earthen Bulwark has 35%. So there are different things that you can definitely use to hopefully get these lucky hit chances for pack leader and for your ultimate skill as well, just to reset your cooldowns across the board whenever you're using all these different abilities. Now with landslide, I want to get enhanced landslide to immobilize them, one of our control effects yet again, which also lead into more damage. And primal landslide, this is where we get Terra Motes. Terra Motes give us guaranteed crits, give us increased 40% multiplicative critical strike damage, and bosses even have a 10% chance to give us a Terra Mote, so a guaranteed crit whenever we just hit them with a landslide. Since everything from what you see, we get landslide from Push Creeper, we get landslide from Trample, we get landslide just from landslide, and everything is doubled, so we have plenty of tries and chances to get Terra Motes, as could be with bosses. And more likely, one rotation for the boss should kill about every boss in the game, besides like Uber Lilith, of course, and world bosses. World bosses, we just need a few rotations. I think it was like no more than 5 rotations I needed of literally the same Earthen Bulwark, petrify, poison creeper, trample, landslide, storm strike a few times, come back. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty simple and easy, and then bam, 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 bam. You know what I mean? Like very simple, easy, and it's just amazing. And just those few things kill the world boss very easily. Predatory instinct is what we also wanted to go ahead and spec into. Now, mind you, this only affects close enemies. Now, close or distant enemies are gauged by pretty much you can take the radius of poison creeper itself. Anything outside that big circle is considered distant. Anything inside the circle is considered close. Just so you know. Now, if you're on a different class, you can definitely use the blast radius shrine. There's a little 360 blast around your character. That's also the same radius, where you can consider anything inside the blast it's close, everything outside the blast is long distance. So keep that in mind as well. Now if we continue down, we're going to go ahead and get Earthen Bulwark. Enhance Earthen Bulwark to be unstoppable, and then innate Earthen Bulwark to do damage. Now this damage does scale with our barrier bonuses. Now we can get our barrier bonus based off of this right here, as well as, you know, bonuses like we getting right here for our barrier being active and other things of that nature. Now we can also throw in, let's say, to our headpiece here, with there's one that Earthen Bulwark does increased. Yeah, let me come over here actually and I can show you that specific aspect that I'm referring to. Pretty much does 25% barrier regeneration per enemy that you hit, all the way up to 100%. Okay, now that one is going to be over here in my stash. I have a copy of it. It's going to be this one right here. You get 20% bonus amount on your next Earthen Bulwark for each enemy that you control, up to a maximum of 100%. Right there. That's also a very good one there. That will scale with that damage. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, some that we want to have just for ability purposes. One is Ancestral Fortitude, get that non-physical resistance a little up, but really over here to get one in Vigilance. Now, if you are having a little bit more survivability issues, just, you know, spec 2 or even 3 in Vigilance, just get this survivability on up. Okay, so whenever we hit Earthen Bulwark, which is going to be our defense skill, we get an additional 5% damage reduction for 6 seconds after using this skill here. So keep that in mind. And then when we come down, we want to get Nature's Outreach, or Nature's Reach, I should say. Spec all 3 into it, and if you have your neck, you can also get a couple more into here. Now this is multiplicative damage, and it does double if they are slowed, stunned, immobilized, or knocked back. Now we'll also get the knockback from our trample, stunned from petrify, our ultimate skill, slowed from all of our skills, and immobilized from pretty much all of our skills. Landslide can do it, as well as storm strike. So we're definitely take advantage of this. Now mind you, it only affects to distant enemies. Once again, that's outside the radius, so you can honestly do your normal poison creeper landslide ability, and then right after they're trying to get out of it. So poison creeper, and then right after trample away, which will allow every enemy that isn't dead, i.e. the boss, to then get that full damage effect, just so you can really melt and hit millions upon millions upon millions. I hit well over 3 million, and you kind of even saw in the beginning, you know, Legion event that I was doing was in a few, you know, over 1 mil easily each and every time. Now poison creeper is just poison creeper. Okay, we don't really worry about it, but we really want to come over and get enhanced poison creeper, get the 1 extra second of immobilization, hopefully get a little more damage out in that time period, as well as brutal poison creeper. Now I really want this one right here, just so we always have that guaranteed crit. One, we will have it with the terremotes that we're getting from poison creeper as a whole, since it does immobilize enemies for us, being one of our control effects, as well as poisoning enemies for us as well. So that's 2 control effects there. Just keep tracking. But with that, if there is any enemy that doesn't get killed by the poison creeper there, i.e. bosses, when we do trample and everything after that, because trample hits so many times, it normally takes the rest of our terror modes, and we can constantly spam out a couple more landslide abilities after the fact, just allowing us overall to have a better experience, especially killing bosses. Now I have tried it with the poison duration. It's okay as well, we just don't crit as much. So I personally like to go ahead and stay with the brutal poison creeper, just stay on the safe side of all of it. And they really just obliterate everything in this path. Now trample, I've already talked about this a few times. One, you're unstoppable, so if Earthen Bulwark is on cooldown for whatever reason and you haven't hit trample yet, and let's say you get frozen or whatever, you can hit trample, get out of it, you're good to go. Now if we get the enhanced trample, it does more damage, 150 multiplicative bonus damage to be exact, so it's actually pretty high, pretty good in that regard. As well as this does get reduced by 50% for each enemy after the first hit. So hey, it's good, but you know, not that good for our hitting the enemies directly straight up. As you see, since we leave so many tramples, landslides behind us, we're not really trying to hit enemies with it, we're trying to go past the enemy. Okay, and with that, we want to generate more spirit just so we stay on top of our game and spam out those landslides as our heart's content, so we're not sitting here focusing on just storm strikes left and right. Okay, it's more synergy with the whole build. Now we definitely want to come over and get 2 different passive trees. One is going to be crushing earth, which is going to increase our earth skill damage, i.e. pretty much all of our damage, landslide, the trample, Earthen Bulwark, all that. Okay, all of our damage, 15% multiplicative, especially when they are done by the mini control effects that we already do. As well as Stone Guard, which is going to be based on Fortify. Now this won't be based off of this, but they do another 12% multiplicative damage if we have Fortify over 50% of our maximum health, or life, I should say. Now I do like to put 1 into Safeguard. Mind you, it fortifies us for 2% of our base life. This is really good since we do crit so much. Now, I personally feel like I don't need all 3 into this just because I crit so much, and Fortify only goes to the 100%. So because I crit so much anyways, I don't see a need to really have it with all 3. Now, if you are struggling in terms of survivability, definitely spec all 3 into this. Okay, you'll be better off for it. But I want to go ahead and preface that I personally don't need to because I'm not struggling in survivability. Okay, so you only need really 1 just to at least get some Fortify off it, allowing us to really stay on top of our game and get this increased 12% multiplicative damage from Stone Guard. Now, also what we want to do is get neurotoxin poison enemies are slowed. So once again, we are slowed, which is also why we don't necessarily need this aspect right here, because our poison creeper already slows. And as you kind of saw, we're going to get our poison creeper back quite often if we are lucky. So hey, we should be good. With that being said, whenever we are attacking poison enemies, we also get critical strike damage 60%. Now it does say additive on the actual thing, but it shows in testing what it used to be even was multiplicative, so it is still multiplicative. It might be changed with the patch that is coming in a couple days, so keep that in mind. Excuse my dog in the background, you know, he's a little loud right now, he's a little tired. Okay, now keep in mind poison creepers, how we poison them, so that paired with that is just fantastic. And the fact that this has critical strike damage, we want to make sure that we always crit. We didn't use all of our terror motes up or anything like that, so that's why we also want this 20% increased critical strike chance right here. Okay, so it just adds all into themselves. Right, it is 30% inherently, but 60 when I have my neck. Okay, from the admitted passive. Now when we come down to ultimate skills, I already talked about Petrify. Petrify, we're going to be able to stun all the enemies in the area. And for normal stuff, we have 30% multiplicative increased critical strike damage. For bosses, we have 50%. And for bosses, we get 7 seconds. Normal stuff, we get about 4.5 seconds. So hey, it's good. And it could be better, but hey, we're able to really pair this up and get this cooldown quite down. There's one time I got this back within 3 seconds of me casting it. It was insane how much lucky hit I got and how many times it procced over and over again. Absolutely insane. So yeah. But then we're going to come up to Prime Petrify, just increase duration by 1 second. And Supreme Petrify, so you get 25 Spirit. Now this Spirit paired with this Spirit, paired with the Abundance right here, we never really have Spirit issues, and we barely ever even have to use our basic attack. But even when we don't have to use our basic attack, we still like to use our basic attack because of a aspect that we have on the gear. Mind you, keep in mind with the weapon right here, so when we cast Storm skill, basic attack that is, we get our skills increase critical strike damage. Okay. Now we also want to go over here to Defiance because our nature match skill does increase damage to elites, 12% multiplicative, which is really good. Then we'll come over to Natural Disaster. Our Earth skills does 12% increase multiplicative damage to vulnerable enemies. Everything we touch is going to be vulnerable, so that's really good. Storm skills even do increase damage to, controlled enemies, essentially stun, immobilize, and knock back, which is going to be good for our basic attack skill. A lot of times I'm actually surprised I'll hit like over 50,000, 70,000, 100,000, even on some like the higher notes when it starts like crit and I'm already ramping damage elsewhere. Sometimes just a basic attack is hitting pretty hard. If I'm not mistaken, it's pretty good. Then we want to get Resonance. Now Resonance can triple, so this could be 18% damage increase to Nature Magic. Nature Magic is pretty much everything triple. Nature Magic, Earth and Bulwark, Nature Magic, Landslide. So we're getting the bonuses to everything we do. And since we're already hitting, Storm skills and Earth skills, we're going to get the triple bonus for right here. So it's going to be absolutely incredible and insane and really help us out and incentivize us even further with this aspect, as well as that passive that we're getting, okay? So 6% ends up being 18%, fantastic all around. Now we just want one in Circle of Life, just get a little bit of extra life back. When we're just hitting our landslide, a lot of times because of all the life on kill that I have already, should be good, but just to make it, for certain. Sometimes if you want, you could take the one out of the Circle of Life and just put it into Safeguard. If you do need a little more Fortify, you're not really hitting past that 50% quite often, hey, by all means go ahead. Then the last point that we have will be for Nature's Fury. Nature's Fury, we have pretty much a 1 in 3 chance to pretty much trigger, if we cast an Earth skill, it will trigger a free Storm skill. If we cast a Storm skill, it will trigger a Earth skill, okay, of the same category. What does the same category mean? So Petrify is ultimate skill, so we can trigger a free Cataclysm for free. Trample is a Wrath skill, whatever. And it's considered an Earth skill because of our aspect. So now we can trigger a free Hurricane for that. Earth and Bulwark, we can get a free Cyclone Armor. Landslide, we can get a free Tornado or even Lightning Strike. Storm Strike, we can get a free Earth Spike. So it's just free stuff all around. And because of the symbiotic aspect that we have right here, we want to definitely keep triggering those free skills so we can get our cooldowns back and hit more skills, triggering more cooldowns, etc. Just feeding to itself. It's a very harmonious effect that it has with this, okay? Now in terms of Paragon board, you can pause it if you want. Pretty much you just want to focus on as much damage ramp as you possibly can. I like to always have the first glyph spot, I have the exploit glyph, but what you're also going to go ahead and have is Earth and Sky to get your nature magic skills to do increased damage to controlled or vulnerable enemies. Outmatch, so you have increased damage to non-elites and see, I'm already getting health back. To non-elites and bosses. So are gonna be good. And trash ads and our big bosses as well there. Now the last thing I would really spec into is Spirit. For those who don't like Spirit for whatever reason, even though Spirit gives you the most damage out of the rest of these, okay, I would definitely take Guzzler, just because we're almost always healthy, and with the life on kill that we get, plus the barrier, plus the fortify, you're pretty much always gonna be healthy. It's a good, like, what, I think it's like 13% damage increase. Mind you, Spirit is way higher than that. It's like 18%. Plus you have the additional 12% multiplicative, so it's really good. The other one that I would get if you don't want to use Spirit for whatever reason, or you don't even want to use Earth and Sky, or Outmatch for whatever reason, then you use something like Tracker. It's going to be a 10% bonus, and allow our poison to last a little bit longer, which can theoretically help us out, but how the build is currently, you're really good. Okay, in terms of the actual boards, I'll show y'all the little nodes. The first one I went to with the Earth one for the Earth and Devastation, so we can get 30% increased damage. Now all the rare nodes that I got were just the damage increase ones, so keep that in mind. Yeah. Oh, I only got this one, which is not a damage increase one, but I only got it because it was on the way to the rest. Okay, so that's the only reason why. But yeah, and then the next board I went to was the Heightened Malice. I get the 45% multiplicative increased damage with poison enemies, 3 more nearby. Once again, I already went over what's close enemies, so what's nearby. Poison creeper when we activate it, it's all them poison enemies, they're all poison, so hey, just get 45% multiplicative increased damage there. Then you got a rare node, increased damage poison enemies. One of the glyphs that we already talked about, more increased damage. Then I came over here to get this one right here for the nature magic stuff. Just get the rare nodes of damage to controlled enemies, damage nature magic skills, damage to elites. I'm gonna come up here and actually come over to the glyph spot and then get the nature magic skill damage. Okay, that's why I'm gonna put the spirit glyph right here. Okay, just for those who are wondering about the Paragon board. Now, without further ado, man, I don't want to make this video too long. It's already pretty long as is. Last time was 45 minutes. Hopefully we can keep this on 40. So hey, without further ado, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the video out. Let me know in the comment section down below if you like this video here, if you like the explanation, any constructive criticism that you may have for the build or how I do the videos here. Behind you, I do raw and uncut, so I try to keep everything here and now and all that. If I mess up, mess up. If I don't, I don't. But yeah, help me out by subscribing to the channel, liking the video, commenting down below. Let's have a discussion. If you do disagree with me, I believe that this is one of the best builds in the entire game, especially for Druid, and the fact that it requires no uniques is absolutely insane. Okay, but yeah, in my opinion, it's better than Tornado build, because I just came from that build. I should have made a video about that build, but I didn't, unfortunately. But yeah, better than Tornado. Without further ado, make sure you like and subscribe, share the video out, and all the other good stuff. Okay, peace and shalom.